The first question I had there was, what should you pray?
That was me.
Okay. How much should you pray?
I said, like, if you have limited time.
And if you have limited time, what you should pray. Okay.
Oh, that was one of my
Great
questions.
Because I'd like all of them. Because I was,
Right.
yeah.
So the answer to that question will go from
'Cause we always
most
have
to least.
Okay.
Rabbi Yochanan says in the Gemara, Halavai, you'd pray all day. You'd be lucky if you could pray all day. So the best answer is you sit and pray all day. All day. Now, that being said, there is an exception where you probably shouldn't pray, and that's when you have to learn Torah. So you could learn Torah, and then you could pray. Now, as a matter of fact, there is a discussion in the Talmud. What do you think? What takes precedence? Torah learning or prayer? What do you think?
Torah.
What's his Torah?
No, I say prayer because of the early Hasidim. Not Eastern European Hasidim.
I know what you mean, right. So the Gemara has this question. Well, the Gemara first says that it has a story of a rabbi there, and he's davening, he's shaking, he's davening. And the other rabbi looks at him and says, "Look at this guy. He's passing up eternal life, Torah, for temporary life. For temporal life is prayer." Because when you pray, by and large, you're praying for your needs. Although what you pray for in this world might affect your next world too. Because if you have a settled mind, you'll be able to do mitzvot better, maybe a better person. But generally, Torah learning in a certain sense is considered to be eternal actions. Prayer, although it makes you more spiritual, in a certain way it's called chayisha. It's called this life, because the focus is on the things that you get now. Torah learning gives you this connection that is called the next world connection. So the Talmud seems to say from there that Torah learning has the precedent over prayer. As a matter of fact, so much so that the Talmud says that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, the famous Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who spent 13 years in the cave, who wrote the Zohar, says there that him and his friends, they didn't have to pray. They were exempt from praying. Because, why? Because they would learn all day. And if they would pray, then I imagine they prayed somehow, but technically they were exempt from prayer because all they did was learn Torah. Right? Already in the times of the ancient sages, already the Rishonim bring down, that's not relevant for us. Because why? Because we might, listen to this is a little bananas here, so I'll go crazy. Because they might, according to Maimonides, they would take time off from their learning to work. And says Maimonides, of course, there are people who are working people, who work a large part of the day, and according to Maimonides, that's working for 3 hours a day and learning 9 hours a day. So Maimonides says, well, of course, we're today we're working all the time. We work 3 whole hours a day. So of course, if we're not gonna go and learn Torah because we're working, then we have to pray also. We're not in that category. So it's all not relevant to us. But the Talmud says there, when it compares, it seems to say that Torah learning has precedent over prayer. And as a matter of fact, then in the story of the Talmud where it's recorded, a rabbi is teaching a student. The student says, "Look, it's going to be mincha time is passing. It's getting late." He's looking at it. The rabbi's teaching. The rabbi's going. He's explaining Torah, and he sees the student wants to get up and go daven, and he quotes him a verse, and he says, one who takes his ears away from study, his prayer is also abomination. Bam, bam, bam. Slaps across the face. Like everybody says to him, listen, you think you're hot, you're going to pray. I'm teaching you Torah now, that's what you're doing? Focus on the Torah learning. That's the way the Talmud seems to describe it. But then, afterwards, the Talmud records then one of the rabbis who had Torah learning in his place and prayer in his place. And that's what we function today. You need to have both. You need to have both are the healthy diet today. It's quoted in the name of the Arizal that says that in our times already prayer has become a certain sense the more natural and immediate connection for us, because when we focus on prayer, we tune in to a certain level, and that gives us the juice that we could then learn Torah and do everything else. As Effie quoted earlier, the famous Talmudic teaching about these early pious people, and it says there that their prayer, their morning prayer, took 3 hours. 1 hour to prepare, 1 hour to pray, and 1 hour to come down.
That's just the Shemona Esrei.
Well, yeah. So it says that there was 3 hours was their morning prayer, but then it says their afternoon prayer is also 3 hours, and that prayer is 3 hours also. The Talmud says we got a little problem on our hands here. Okay, so these guys are davening 9 hours a day. We talk about how they don't. The Talmud says about work; it's about learning. Where they're going to learn. So the Talmud says because they prayed in this kind of way, their learning was blessed and things went good. Same thing would be for your work. So the conclusion as far as prayer goes is that there's a time for prayer, there's a time for learning, and there's a time for work. Right? You have to work. That's the Talmud concludes, although I mentioned Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who learned all day, didn't work, the Talmud in its infinite wisdom, how it phrases things, it says there are two rabbis who had this disagreement. Should you learn all day or learn and work? And Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was one who said, just learn. I sat in a cave for 13 years, it worked out for me, it'll work out for you too. You may not gain that much weight, but you'll be all right. You'll have, at least have carab and spring water. The other rabbi, Yisrael, said, no, you have to learn and work. Okay? The Talmud doesn't say who's right and wrong, really. The Talmud concludes by saying, many people tried the system of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai and tried just to learn. The lo alsa biyadam, but it did not work for them. They couldn't pull it off. They needed money, and then they couldn't think, and they couldn't focus. And many people did what Ishmael did, was they learned and they worked and they were successful. That's the normal way. So now I just gave you the opposite extreme, which is just to show you that certainly Torah learning is so essential, but prayer, and as the Gemara then says, that one Rabbi Yochanan says that, oh, well, you pray all day, it's so amazing. So doing a lot of prayer is good. It's good. Tunes you in. And the question is, that's one extreme. What's the minimum daily requirement that you need to fulfill your prayers? Any question?
No, I was just going to say, so what is what you were just talking about, interrupting and all of that, which I'm interrupting right now. Tell us about the rabbis that were learning in Bnei Brak, in the Haggadah, and their students came and said, hey, time to pray. So
Why they stop them?
yeah, it seems like
They should let them go.
there should be a lot of backstory to that I never heard about.
So it's a good question. I had to qualify one thing. Talmud, when it says that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai and his friends could learn all the time and not pray, that's not the Shema. And that in the text there, it says the time of Shema's arrived.
Yeah.
Why is the Shema, it's very important, asking questions lead into the halakha discussion we're about to have. Why is the Shema so central that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was exempt from the silent prayer, the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, but he was not exempt from the Shema? Does anyone know? That's right. The answer is, and this is where we're leading into the minimum requirement, the answer is that the saying of the Shema is a biblical requirement. It says in the Pasuk, it says, you speak in the word of Torah, when you go to sleep and when you get up. So you got to say these words. These words, the Shema, have to be said when you go to sleep and when you get up. Now, I need to qualify, that is not an obligation for women. Why is that not an obligation for women? It's time bound. That is time bound. There's no greater time bound than saying the Shema. However, women should say the Shema, because even though it's time bound and they're exempt, but from the aspect of what's called Kabbalah's Olmoch Shemayim, taking on the yoke of heaven and recognizing there's God in the world and there's one God, that is so important that women should do it, even though they're not obligated, because time-bound commandments for women, there is many reasons why, but there is the Torah exemption for them, and it's time-bound. Yeah.
So, for women who are going to pray, number one, do they have to say the Shema in its time then? And because if it's not about the time-bound mitzvah, if it's about, accepting the yoke of heaven, then accepting the yoke of heaven seems like there's not a specific time for that.
That would be true. A woman could say it any time of the day, but it would still be better even for women to say it in the morning if they can, because the idea, the spiritual idea why you say it in the morning and night is, the Hasidic master side explains that when it's recognizing one God at the times where the days switch. Now it's morning, it's a new beginning. Now it's night, it's a new. So you may, when changes in life occur, you may then lose your equilibrium. It's good to say Shema then. So I would say it's still good for women to say it in its time if possible. But again, they're not even obligated to say it at all, other than say the yoke of heaven, which means they miss the time. That's okay also. But the Shema is a time-bound Torah commandment. Now, what exactly does the Shema mean? Well, there's a few different parts of the Shema. There is the first line, which is, the Talmud says, is the main thing. Get that, make sure you just get that line. That's the first mitzvah I tell people to do. The first mitzvah I take on. It's the easiest thing, it's one line. So, really, just saying that one line, Shema and the Baruch Shem, actually fulfills the mitzvah. We actually do more than that. We try to say the full first paragraph. Okay? And really, ideally, the reason why I want to say all 3 paragraphs is because the third paragraph of the Shema has the other mitzvah. Let's open up inside here for those who have a thing. Those who don't, we can just maybe bring a couple more things if we need. It's over page 90. Kinds of music here. All right, so on page 90, that is the first part of the Shema. Okay? That fulfills the mitzvah if you want to be strictly speaking. Page 90. Now, why do you say those first 3 words, Kel Melech Ne'eman? You see those little words that we say there? Why do you say that? I don't know why you say that.
If you're saying it by yourself.
Right, you're saying it by yourself. What's the difference? What's the difference between saying it by yourself, not by yourself? Why do you add these 3 words? The answer is, by the way, these 3 words there, if you take the first letter of each, what word does it spell? Amen. Amen. So that and that's what it really is. That's what Amen is. What Amen when you're for non-Jews, Amen means nothing, brother. Amen, but it doesn't mean anything. I don't know what it means. One time I can't tell you, when I was traveling, and I was in the airport, and I had a bottle of water. And they let you take the bottle of water across, but they wanted to make sure it wasn't some poison, so they made you drink it. So they said to me, "Take a drink of that water." I said, "Okay." I make a blessing now, and you answer Amen. I said, "Shakol in a row." They go, "Amen, brother." They didn't know what they were saying. They were saying Amen. But what is Amen? Amen is Kel Melech Ne'eman. It's the abbreviation that God, which is the name El, Melech, king, Ne'eman, that is truthful, that is faithful. That's what Amen means. You make a blessing, and I reaffirm it by saying Amen. This is the Kel Melech Ne'eman. This is the God, is the king who is faithful and does exactly what it says. He controls these things. And the Talmud gives the analogy, it's kind of like where you have like an army comes in, and the first line goes in, but then the second line comes in and conquers the territory. The first line breaks the enemy territory, but the second wave is the conquerors, and the Amen is like the second wave. So you make your blessing, but that's why it's very important to answer Amen. And by the way, there's all halachas of Amen. You should just know that. The Amen shouldn't be louder than the guy making the bracha. The Amen should not be late. Late Amens are not good. They're very dangerous, actually. Comments is very dangerous. You should not, like, guy says an Amen, and then it's the bracha, and then you're on Facebook. You can't interrupt. You're on Facebook. Come on. And then oh, by the way, and you throw out an Amen. That's not good. It's not good. So late Amens are not good. And what's also bad when people pray? It's when they're trying to rush. This is called a cutoff Amen. When you make a bracha, and then let's say you're saying the Shemona Esrei repeating it, and they say Baruch Hashem, Gai Yisrael, Rafeinu, and the guy starts the blessing, he doesn't give people the community time to answer Amen. That's not good either, because he's cutting off the Amens. So the Amen has to be said. Now, who do you say Amen for? You have if you don't know the person, let's say you see some guy and you don't hear the whole bracha, you've only heard the last two words, and don't answer Amen because who knows what he said? You know who he is. You know he's a religious guy, but people hear the bracha, and you're supposed to answer Amen whenever you hear a bracha. Just want to throw out some of my Amens here. It's just called Amen. But there's two parts to Amen. One is affirming the bracha, which you do whenever you hear a bracha. Whenever you hear a bracha, it's important to answer Amen, and to answer it not cut off, not main, but at the aleph, not Amen, Amen. And it's important to say it in the right time. And now, but there's two kinds of Amens. One, you're answering to be fulfilled the mitzvah yourself. Okay? In other words, when I go and I take a cup of wine, right? I'm making kiddush. I always say savri, or I say savri r'namanasai. What am I saying that for? That's one of the questions also. Right. Why is it that? So savri means to be sover, means to think, to pay attention. So why I'm saying that when I'm going to make a bracha that is going to fulfill your obligation. And you're answering Amen to fulfill your obligations, like you said the bracha. Because the principle is, Shamecha One, if you hear it, like you said it. So I got to say, Savri, pay attention, don't sleep now. Because, sorry, you can sleep now.
Sleep! It's like you say our shoes.
What's that? Now, so Bruce will get to a second. That was one of the questions. That was your question.
That was my question.
That's Sal's question. So that's why I'm kind of now weaving into things. So Savri means pay attention. I'm about to be able to see you. Okay, so Rivan Osai is when I have a community, when I have a group. But Savri is just a short one. If it's just you and one. Yes.
I got one.
Right. But otherwise, you say Savri. Sorry. So if it's for your just husband and wife and Savri.
So I wouldn't have to say Sabri,
Just oh, no, you say Savri, but that's Savri, Marnan, Rosai. You don't say that. Marnan, Rabbanan, Rosai means Marnan is my teachers, Rabbanan is the rabbis, and my rabbis.
So 3 or more men. You say it.
Yeah. Then you and you take the humble approach. You see, by the way, there are all these new groups that have these new things that try to be really, I don't know, creative. So you always see these guys when they want to call the benching, they don't like saying the old-fashioned way, Rabosai, Nevarech. So they say Chavirai, my friends. Bless. The Talmud says you don't do that. You're a Jew. Be humble. Call somebody a rabbi. Aaron was the older brother. He called Moshe my master. Okay? He says treat other people. Give them a little bit of space. You could say to your friend, my teachers. That's nice. That's a good Jewish way to do it. But people are now want to say, no, my friends, countrymen, Romans. It's like, come on, Rabbosai, my teachers. So when you're saying it in a group, there's this total of 3 men. What you're doing is you're calling the other people your rabbis. You're saying, Rabbosai, my teachers, let us bench. It's giving honor to people instead of trying to pick yourself up that you're greater than everyone else. It's a Jewish approach of humility, of honoring other people, even people that are your peers, and giving them honor for the, it says the Talmud, the rabbis to stand up for one another. Because, okay, so I know something, you know something, you taught me something, I taught you something, so we stand up for each other. That's not the way the world works. Everyone wants to be like, they know better.
Rabbi, how do you define prayer again?
Good question. I'll get to prayer.
Because it sounds like you're praising Hashem.
Ah.
You're not asking for anything in return. It's just, I don't know, it really depends on the definition before.
Okay, so I'm gonna get to that. I will answer that question. It's a good question. I'm in the Shema and the Amens, and then when I get to prayer, I'll answer that question. So, so that's Savri or Savri Rasai. When you want to say a blessing, and you say Birshus, why are you saying that? Really, what Birshus means, with your permission. It's a little bit different. Technically, you really don't have to say Birshus unless there's someone that really should be making the blessing ahead of you. So, you don't really have to. Savri Rasai that we do say, Birshus just means with your permission. And technically, the law is that if you are the, I don't know, you're having a Shabbos table and you are the most knowledgeable and you're the head of the house, and so you don't have to say Birshus, but it's nothing wrong with saying it. I mean, I think it's a good thing to say. It's a nice thing, but it's just saying with your permission. It's just a nice way to function. But if you are saying the Hamotzi and you are not the one who's entitled to it, you see, really, if you see in the Talmud, it records who should say that Hamotzi and who starts the blessing, and it's a whole hierarchy of scholarship. So if you are the one that should be saying, you don't have to say Birshus. If you're not, right, then you should say Birshus with permission of the people seated at the table. I'm going to make the bracha for everybody.
So is this also an act of humility
Yes.
and humble?
Yes. Yes. I'm just saying that technically, in that one they say that if ask for permission, if you need to ask for permission. If you don't need to ask for permission. But I think it's a good thing to do. Okay. Now, so we're gonna get the payments question about what is prayer, but first we're doing the Shema because we kind of fell into that. So the Shema is that first line on page 90. That's the minimum daily requirement. Now I asked you before, why do you say
The only thing to say in the morning?
Kel? No. I'll get to that. Kel Melch Nam. I'm just about the Shema now. Kel Melch Nam. Mom, why do you say that if you pray by yourself? Anyone know the answer to that question?
Kalma?
Well, I'm just saying that because I don't say God's name unless I'm going to pray.
Is it 200?
El Melch Nam Man, right?
It's
I'm
amen,
saying that.
right?
What?
Is it an amen?
Yeah, it's like an amen, but it's the abbreviation of amen. It's what amen really means. But we say 3 words before the Shema when we pray by ourselves. Lou, you had an answer?
Is it that there's 245 words and those 3
Very good.
248?
Very good. The Shema is, when you say every word of the Shema, there's 248 words of the Shema, all 3 paragraphs. Okay?
280.
248. 248 are the amount of limbs in the body. And every one you say, every word you say heals one of the parts of the body. That's why people can try to say Shema slowly, with intention, each word, because the Shema, every word heals a different part of the body, different limb of the body. Now, the problem is if you count it, it's only 245. Problem. The answer is no. It's 248 because the reader repeats when you're praying in the community, Hashem Elokeichem Emet. It repeats the last 3 words. If you turn to page 94, you see the bold type where it says, Chazin repeats. No, it's not Chazin. That's not my daughter.
What's a chazin?
It's my daughter, Chaya Tova.
In Shabbat,
In Shabbat.
we don't say this. We say the Shem Alai Elohechem.
You don't say Shlokel Emet?
No, we don't say El Melech.
Kel Melech Naman. What do you say instead?
We say,
I do say.
the Adonai Elohechem emes, or
Yeah,
Ni
do
Adonai
say.
Elohechem if you're praying alone.
You repeat?
If you're praying alone, you repeat it.
Yeah, Hashem Kechel Mes the second time?
Ni Hashem
Hashem,
Elohechem, and if you're playing with a minion, the Chazan says Adonai Elohechem.
Hashem Kechel Mes. But I'm saying, but if you're praying by yourself, you repeat by yourself?
Yeah.
Really?
You say, Ani Hashem Elokechem, Ani Hashem Elokechem emes.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I know it's brought down in Rishonim to say Kal Melech Ne'eman. So I understand it to be machlokes, but I didn't know that way to do it.
That's why
Okay.
it's better to pray with the community, so you say 248.
Well, that's one of the reasons, but the way we get around it, if you're not praying with the community, is how
Just say it
you
twice.
add. No,
So
you
just-
add
That's
Kal Melech Ne'eman.
Oh, with the three, I see what you're
That's
saying.
how we add.
I had
So when
that.
praying alone, you don't say those last three.
That's right. That's right. Unless you're Chabad. Unless you're Chabad.
Shabbat.
We need the Chazan.
Chabad, you know Chabad. But the non-Chabad custom is to say Kel Melech Ne'eman if you're saying by yourself, because then you added the 3 words, now you have 248.
What if you start all by yourself and another 9 guys show up right behind you? What are you supposed to do then?
Then you do 200 something else.
So
Well,
if you started by yourself and you said Hashem Kechamet, and then you're saying then you have a minion that the reader can, well,
You're still fulfilling it at 248 regardless.
yeah, you did 240, yeah.
You're saying you'd have
And in
three
that
more?
case would be a question if the Chazan would repeat it or not, because the question if you had a minion when you said Shema at first, probably didn't have, if you guys, 9 guys said Shema first, and then the Chazan walked in, you didn't have a minion for the Shema, so you wouldn't repeat it anyway.
No.
It's always good to have 3 extra points for health, you know. just-
Yeah, that's right, that's the case.
Now, do you know which part is for which one?
Yeah.
Well, practical question is, when you're dialing with the
Curious.
minion, and you're behind the minion.
Yeah.
So the Chazan says Hashem Elokechem emes, and 3 minutes later you get to the Shema. Do you rely on what the Chazan said when the minion was there?
Yes, you could do that. You could listen to when he said something on mess, and then you don't have to say Kal Melech Ne'eman. That's
Even
right.
though you're not even starting the Shema until
That's
after
right.
he's finished.
Even if you weren't even there when they said it, and there's a
No,
minion
no.
around you.
No,
No, he
no,
said
no,
it-
no.
he
If
said-
you
he said
come
the
and
last
if you
three
come
words.
if you come really late and they're in Shemon Esrei, then when you say Kel Melech Ne'eman because you're not saying Shema with them. But if you're basically saying Shema with them, you're just a little bit behind. You're going to get the Shemon Esrei with the community. And when he says Hashem Kechem Emes, that's you listen to that. That fulfills you also, and you just say the Shema without adding those 3 words. Okay. Now, so look, there are 3 paragraphs. So the minimum of the requirement is that 1 line. But it's better to say the full first paragraph, which is 92. If you can say the second paragraph and the third paragraph, it's ideal. Why? Because the third paragraph has in it the last part. It says, look at the last line of the third paragraph. I am Hashem, your God, who was removed from the land of Egypt to be to you a God to you. I am Hashem, your God is true. So that is remembrance of coming out of Egypt, and we're commanded to remember the coming out of Egypt every single day. So when you say that line, by the way, you should think to yourself, I am now doing another mitzvah. When you say the Shema, you think, I am doing a mitzvah of saying the Shema, which is one of the 248 positive commandments, one of the 213 commandments. I am now doing one of the mitzvahs saying Shema. That's the first thing. Then when you get to this one line, you say, I am your God, took you out of Egypt. You should think to yourself, I am now fulfilling another one of the commandments, of the 213 commandments, which is to remember the coming out of Egypt every day. Okay? So this is the Shema. So for women, it is important to say the Shema. Men must say the Shema because it is a time-bound Torah commandment. Now, when we say prayer, tefillah, we're not really referring to the Shema. The Shema is one of the parts of the prayer. But when we say tefillah, we're really referring to the silent prayer, the Shemona Esrei. Okay? Now, is it commanded from the Torah to say the Shemona Esrei? The answer is no. Well, let me ask you a question. Is it commanded from the Torah at all to pray?
I think Rambam says yes.
So it's an argument if it's commandment or not. According to one opinion, you are only commanded to pray when you are in suffering. That when a person is, according to one opinion, a person is commanded to pray only from the Torah, only in times of trouble. When you're weary, feeling down. It's a song. Then you are commanded to pray. Now, the other opinion, Maimonides' opinion is no. You're commanded to pray one time a day. One time a day. Okay? And now, and that's the Torah commandment. The rabbis came along and they gave us a form to pray. Because to pray on your own, which is what they did in the early times, before the Second Temple, when the formalization of the prayer happened by the men of the Great Assembly, right? And they came back in the Second Temple period of time. They set up a body that was in charge of the Shivas Tzia, the return to Zion. 120 of the greatest sages who had lifelong membership in this body that reestablished the new Jewish Commonwealth, which is why the Knesset, the modern day Knesset, has 120 members, which is the only thing it has in common with the Great Assembly of the Temple. So now these rabbis set up this formula, and this formula is very important because before that you kind of had to make it up yourself, which was maybe good, maybe not, depends how creative you were. These rabbis now set up the Shemona Esrei and the format of prayer. And amongst these 120 sages were prophets still. There was Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, there were still prophets. So every word of the prayer as they wrote it has a certain specific intent and makes a certain fixing up in the universe. Okay? And that's what you asked me before. Payman asked the word tefillah is the word patil, which means a connection. Patil is to connect. Your tzitzis are patil tcheos. They have a connecting string of glue. So it's a connector. The prayer that you're supposed to say is supposed to be the thing that connects you to God. And really, the way to look at the prayer is everything is a build up to the Shemona Esrei, to the solemn prayer. That's the moment of connection with Hashem. And the parts before it are the lead up to get you to that point. Okay? As a matter of fact, that's the way the sages look at it. Look at it, this is in the Chabad Siddur, not in the Ashkenazi Siddur. But it writes there that there are four spiritual worlds, right? There's all of them. Asiya, world of action. The world of Yitzira, of formation. The world of Bria, the world of creation, and then the Olam Atzilus, which is the divine realm. And these levels are different levels, and we're like in the lowest level, Asiya, which is mostly negativity. And then the next level, Yitzira, is half and half. And then the next level is where it's mostly good. And then you get to the divine level. And the prayer is really broken up to that way. That the first part is the action. That's why the blessings you make of the day, blessing that you give me the ability to stand up, to sit up, all the blessings, the morning blessings are actions. They're actions. It's a siyah. It's a siyah. And then you move up to the next level, which is now Psukei de Zimra. Psukei de Zimra are the Psalms, and they essentially start from page essentially, I mean, you could always add, but essentially it's 54, or even, 54, and even more so 58. 54 is kind of like an intro, but 58. Now, let me answer some of the questions, and I'm going to get to Payman's point about what defines prayer a little better. But I'm going to go through now, because one of the questions I had was what was the minimum day requirement. So I'm going to go through these three parts that lead up to the prayer, and I'm going to show you what you should and shouldn't say. Have you had a question?
Yeah, So I've always heard, right, that the men of the Great Assembly set up the Shemona Esrei with, prophecy about every single word, except there are some pretty divergent wordings
Right.
in different nusachs.
Right.
So what exactly did they set up?
So that's a big question. That's exactly right. That's why it's a big debate about should you add, change, even one word. Now, the conclusion why we have the Nusach Sardi and more questionable thereby is the Nusach Sfar, the Nusach Arizal, because that came later. So the rationale of the different Nusachs is this teaching that there's 12 gates that every prayer goes up through based on every different tribe. So really, even we say that the different slight variations in the text is, I saw once a book that wanted to calculate that even the numerical values according to this system work this way, according to this system work that way. So the concept would be that if you're using a text that it has a variation, Sephardi, Ashkenaz, Sfard, Arizal, using an authentic text, those texts still fit into one of the channels, one of the gates that the prayers can go up to. This is the fact. It says that the 12 tribes spoke differently. They had different ways to speak. And we know the Talmud records one tribe couldn't say the S, they couldn't say S. Right? Sibolet. There was a whole story in the Tanakh where they couldn't say it. So they had a different way to speak. So that represented a different job, a different work, a different task. And then the different nusachs, as long as you're using a valid nusach, you should be careful about combining. In Shemona Esrei, you shouldn't use half of the Arizal and half of the Ashkenaz. If you're saying Shemona Esrei, stick with one nusach for Shemona Esrei. Kedusha we'll talk about in a second. You can switch Kedusha. Okay. So now the first part, though, as I said, is the blessings. Now, what do you got to say? Wake up, page 2, Modani, say Modani. Now I'm going to give you sort of you could say, if you want to say this whole book, you can. It'll take you 3 hours a day, and you could do that. I'm going to give you sort of a minimum sketch with a little bit of more. Obviously, you could add more if you want, but Modani, that you should always say first thing you wake up in the morning. These parts you can say if you want, you cannot say. I'm not going to focus on that now because I want to get to where I think is more essential for us. If you're putting on talis and tefillin, you do that. Then you have no one, you can say if you want. But what's really crucial to say is to go to page 14. The first thing you must say is page 14. The blessing of Netilas Yadayim. I think that's next week's is the morning order, right? It's next week.
Well, I mean, it's the daily conduct.
Okay, so I'll explain more next week exactly how this works. But the first important thing you pray is page 14. You say the blessings for the washing the hands.
I have a question about that.
I'm saying blessing for going to the bathroom, and then you see it says at this point some recite Elkai Neshama. See it says that in the bottom line there, bottom 14. That's a good idea to do that. I don't know why it's not.
Is your question going to be you wash your hands but you say it later?
That's
Well,
next week. I'll hit it
what
back.
if I have to go to the bathroom?
Don't go to the bathroom till next week.
Oh, you mean before you didn't wash your hands before you went to the restroom?
Well, if this
Because you're
is
supposed
this,
to wash your hands.
this is a dilemma. Every morning I
That
have to
what's
go so
special?
badly.
So wash your
And
hands.
then,
You can't
but I'm
your
gonna
hands
wash my hands with soap, not the al-netilat kind of washing.
What do you mean?
Before you go to the restroom?
No, after
No,
like.
this is before you go to the restroom.
So when I wake up, I immediately say Modani before I even
That's right.
get
You
out.
can do it.
of bed.
What you can say. It doesn't have
Okay.
God's name, you can say right away. But the
And
first thing you should do is
then-
wash your hands. Because you don't want to touch anything with your, I don't mean with soap. I mean Jewish style.
Right, Jewish style.
3 on each.
But I have to go so badly.
You must do.
And
Or if you
then
have to
if
go
I
throughout
do
the
that, I'm
night,
not gonna
yes.
make it.
There's a lot of times that
Right.
a lot of people have to go out throughout
Yeah.
the night. You're supposed to
So
do it
that's
every
my
time.
dilemma.
Yeah, it's better to do that.
And then I feel like if I do that, then I need to say the bathroom prayer, and then I go back and I feel like I
No.
have to say, like,
Here's what you should do. What you should do is and this is for next week, we don't really have to go to the bathroom the entire week. So ideally what you should do is you should go and you should wash your hands 3 times and go to the bathroom. And then when you finish being in the bathroom, you don't need to wash your hands 3 times. You don't need to wash your hands after the bathroom 3 times, just put your hands under the thing and do
Okay,
that.
so I don't have to say on the
Nothing.
Tila when I do that?
No, you're going back to
Oh.
sleep. What you gotta do is you get up, wash your hands, because you don't want to touch any orifices without washing your hands.
Openings.
And, yeah.
Okay.
So get up and hopefully, you know, if you really, you know, can't, you know, even make the washing your hands, then I guess you go to the bathroom, but just, you know, just don't put your hands in.
But I don't have to say a bracha when
No.
I do that. Okay, that helps.
Right, you don't make a bracha.
Just in the morning though.
Right, you're not gonna make the Teshadayim bracha
Like
until
later.
you get up for good in the morning, not,
No.
right.
I think that's where my confusion
Yeah,
is.
right. And
Well, some
after-
people
after
do
you
right
go-
before
after you go
prayers,
to
they
bed-
re-wash
after-
them.
that I'm gonna do next week, it's next
Okay.
week's.
So
But,
Makahani,
what?
rinse, bathroom, asher yatzir.
That's it, go back to sleep. Right?
Oh.
Yeah, that's good enough? All right, good.
Or,
It's like,
You
or
go-
don't drink
you
a
go
lot
to
of
the
water.
bathroom this week.
That is such a
You're
relief.
back on, you go to the bathroom this week.
Okay, thank you. If
All right.
anything I got out of this class, that's it.
Good.
good
Now,
king.
now you see, just for that was worth it. Now, so I would say Modeni, and then I would go. So again, this 14. When I'm talking about Teshadayim now, that's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go through this next week more in detail.
Okay.
That's when you get up for good, not when you go
Got
to the bathroom, you know, at 4 in the morning. That's not that. This is talking when you're ready. You got up, you went to the bathroom, and then you're ready to pray, and you say this.
But I'm
prayer.
doing that, I'm going out of the bathroom so I can say the prayer.
There's one time, and it's the end, which we're now explaining this. We have when you do it, because it's a discussion. But this is talking about when you're ready to pray. You've gone to the bathroom. You know you washed your hands before. You got to the bathroom, and now everything's good. You're dressed. You're ready to pray. So say Teshadayim.
Perfect.
Don't say it before. And then the bathroom bracha, assuming you haven't said it. And then I would jump over to the Elokai Neshama on 18, as it says there. See? Good. Now, page 16 is the blessing of the Torah. That's very, very, very important. That everyone should say. The truth is, in halacha, women, by saying technically the blessing of the Torah, have actually fulfilled the Shemona Esrei.
Wait, say that again. Which one?
Yeah, technically. Don't do that, but technically, I'll tell you where it plays out. Why? Because Payman asked me before. He says, "What constitutes prayer?" So we have a principle. We have a system. We have 3 parts to prayer, which we're going to see with this one Esrei. Part 1 is praise of God. Part 2 is request. Part 3 is thanks. This is the 3 parts of prayer: praise, asking, praise, request, thanks. Those are the 3 parts of prayer. And now that's very crucial because if you don't praise God, He doesn't need your praises, but you can't ask anything because you don't have a concept of who you're talking to. So you have to recognize and you have to praise God. You could understand. Then God wants you to ask. Once you have the cognition, He wants you to ask. Because prayer is, and we're not going to do philosophically now, but it is the idea about God wants to give to us, like a bride and a groom. He wants to give us, and we know He wants to give us, and we're asking that we should be worthy to be able to get it. And that way it makes the world a better place. We don't think that's bad. We think that's good. If God gives us the blessings, we will be able to go and do better things and make this world a better place. It'll sanctify God's name. I mean, I was in the doctor's office today, and I think this woman was trying to say something nice to me, but she says to me that, she had, I thought, oh, Jewish? First, what are you learning? Is that a Hebrew book? I said, yeah, it's Hebrew, and it's Aramaic, too. So she said, oh, Jewish? I said, yeah, it's good you knew that. No, she was not bagling. She was not a member of this tribe.
I used to get clients
I
who
love
say,
a bagel, right?
I'm sitting there like this with my clients and say, "You're Jewish?" And I go, "Sherlock Holmes."
That's a good response.
So yeah, she was definitely not a member of the tribe. And then she's telling me that in her church they learned about Jews. And she said, I said, really? Yeah, we learned that the Jews control the money, like the wealth in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And she's telling me this in like a positive way. Like she's like, and something about a red moon. Which I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know what they taught her. It was about a red moon. So,
Scary.
yeah, so, you know, and she was like, a compliment to me that we control all the money, all the wealth.
And you're
I
like,
said, I don't want to say anything, but that's kind of racist. She's like, oh. I was like,
But this
yeah, I told her. I know it's racist. It is. You know, and I try to explain. Yeah, if Jews have, you know, I said, well, yeah, there are many Jews who. It's true. There's 1%
Just
of
like
Jews in
many
America,
other
and a lot of
religions.
wealthy Jews, a lot of Nobel Prize winners also that are Jews that are not proportionate. A lot of Dr. Law is not proportionate to 1%. But when they say control the money, but how I'm talking about this is because when God gives us. It's a kiddush Hashem in the world. It sanctifies God's name that people should be able to be able to see God's blessing in the world. So it's a request. And then the third part is then thanks, thanking God for what you have. This blessing of the Torah actually contains all three parts. So for women, technically, it's called, since we said before, according to Maimonides, you got to pray one time a day, according to Maimonides, we'll see this, one time a day, and from the Torah, it didn't have a structure. So for women, this could be, according to some opinions, fulfilling your commandment of prayer. Now, where does this play out? Where is this very important for women is on Shabbos morning. On Shabbos morning, so you know, there's different customs that people eat before a prayer. You know, Chabad, I'm not even going to bring it up because it's not. Yeah, of course, you know, Chabad eat before davening. Hasidim eat before davening, and I eat before davening. But the Litvaks don't. They got a big problem. Now, what's the rationale? The simple rationale is the halacha is that if you are weak. And you will be weak if you're standing 3 hours in shul and you haven't eaten. So then the halacha is you'll call it a chol, that even if you're just very hungry and you'll be allowed to eat to get the energy to pray. So that's a point of great contention amongst different people. But for women, if they say the Birkas Torah, then they prayed. They can even say Kiddush. So really, men really can't really make the Kiddush because they haven't prayed yet. But for women on Shabbos morning, what you can do is you can say the blessing of Torah, make Kiddush because you consider you've already prayed, and then make Kiddush and eat something, and then go to shul.
When you say that, what you just said, Birkas Torah, is it that whole that page or is it just
Birkas
the
Torah is the whole.
paragraph?
It's 16.
The whole page.
Well, yeah, but it really is only the first two paragraphs.
Yeah.
The last three paragraphs are actually parts of the Torah.
Well, yes.
And the reason why you do it is because you made a blessing in the Torah, and now you gotta learn Torah.
Study it, yeah.
That's right.
Bro, I have a question.
Yeah.
The goyim,
Yeah.
you know, everything is at their disposal just like us.
Right.
But a lot of them do not pray.
Right.
So why is it required of us to have that connection versus them who just get it? Regardless of prayer.
You know, it's an interesting question. You have, you know, I'll quote you literally what happens in the story of the Kings, the story of Solomon. When Solomon builds a temple, he makes a special prayer to God. His prayer is, whenever a Jew comes here and he asks something, whenever a non-Jew comes to the temple and asks you anything, God give it to him. He doesn't say anything for Jews. Solomon does not say the same thing for Jews. He says, God, if they should have it, give it to them. Not them. But the man just says, give it to them. But why? So this Talmud says, because Solomon understood that if a non-Jew went all the way to Jerusalem to pray, and he didn't get it, he wasn't going to come out and say, oh, maybe God had a reason, this and that. Hey, this God doesn't answer. So sometimes, you know, prayer is you might pray for something, and might not get it because maybe it's not the best thing for you. You know, but you have to pray for it because you have to realize the source of the giving is God.
My other question that kind of ties into this one is that, is it best just not to pray?
No, it's best to pray.
Because if God has because if God is omnipresent, you know, He knows the future and the past and so forth. You know, what is your prayer like? I'm I'm just saying it's similar to like another
Okay.
raindrop in the ocean,
Okay,
you know,
so-
for him. Like,
so-
he has a master plan. Like,
So let me answer that. I'm gonna answer it briefly, because I wanna answer also the other question people ask me, but it's a fundamental question about prayer, what you're asking. It's a very, very, very good question, and I'm gonna answer it very concisely. I'm gonna give you two answers, and these are the two main answers for this, but you have to understand them. Without them, Payman's right, it makes no sense what we're doing. Payman's question is, wait a minute, I don't understand. Judaism says God gives you what you're supposed to get, so why are you asking for something different? If he didn't give it to you, maybe he doesn't want you to have it. What are you nudging him for? Your parent gives you what you need, and then you go, give me this, give me that. Well, what do you do? What are you praying? What are you doing that for? So there's two answers, two main answers. One answer is, it says that all of the Jewish foremothers were all barren. You think about it. Sarah was barren, Rivka was barren, Rachel was barren, and the Talmud says that even Leah was barren, so that God opened the womb because she was in pain. She felt sad. So they were all, but I don't understand, wasn't there supposed to be a Jewish people? So the Talmud answers, it says, Medrash answers, it says, because Hashem is mis'avil, God yearns for the prayers of the righteous, which means that all along they were supposed to get it, but only when they prayed. Why? Because if they would have gotten it without prayer, that would have been bad. It means they would have gotten everything they needed, but they would have lacked the most important thing, which is the relationship to God. So sometimes God doesn't give it to you because He wants you to ask Him. He's waiting to give it to you. He's saying, please, just ask. Because if you ask, that means you're relating to me. If you don't ask, that means I give it to you, then you're off to the races. You have no connection with me. So the first answer is that sometimes you're supposed to get it, but only through prayer, because that makes the connection. Without the prayer, then it's like, a father gives his kid a Ferrari, and he says, here's a Ferrari, here's $1 million, just leave me alone. That's not a good relationship, that's bad. You don't want that, you want the relationship. So one answer is that you may be getting it because only with the prayer. The second answer is that sometimes maybe you're not supposed to get something right now. However,
The prayers for later.
no, that could also be. That's also a good answer too. Sometimes the prayers you do will affect your children, grandchildren, other people. It's also true. But another answer is that sometimes through the act of prayer, you're going to change. You become a greater person, and now you can get it. The parent wants to give his kid a car. What's that? You're more grateful. You have cognition of who runs the world, right? That's what prayer is. Prayer is to realize there's one source for everything. The source for what I get is God. It's not anything else. That's what prayer does. So now what happens is if you have a parent who wants to give a kid a car, but he sees the kid is a wild man, I can't give you a car. I want to give you a car, I can't, because you're out of control and it's dangerous. Once he sees the kid develops a certain level of understanding, then he can give him the car. So when you start praying, you realize God is the source of it, and there's a purpose to use the things I have in the right way, then you may really be entitled to get it. Okay, so that is the blessings there. The next part is the Birkas HaShachar, the blessings of the morning. So really, if you want to know what you should say, sort of minimum in the first section of prayer, it's the Modeh Ani, the blessings of the Torah, and blessings of the Shema. Those are what you should say minimum, if you can, and we'll talk about even more minimum later, but really ideally you should say at least in the Modeh Ani, at least then say on page 14 the blessings of the hand in the bathroom, and the blessings of the Torah, and blessings of the morning.
And you said if we say the blessings of the Torah, that means that we're getting ready to study Torah.
Well, that's what happens right there.
There's
It's
3
in-
paragraphs after.
That's what the 3 paragraphs are.
Numbers.
On 16, you see it says Numbers, then Mishnah, then Talmud,
That takes care of it.
and you're starting it.
Then you can eat breakfast.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
yeah. For ladies, for guys, no.
The ladies.
Now,
Well, ladies don't have to say Kiddush, you're saying they could just eat.
no, they should not say Kiddush.
They should say Kiddush.
I'm saying, but now, because see, the men can't make Kiddush because they haven't prayed yet, so they're not ready. But the women technically consider they have prayed, so they can say Kiddush and they could eat.
Eat anything?
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, Kiddush. Okay. Except for candy, no candy. Okay, now, then we skip over, go to 58. This is called, the second part, this is called Psuke de Zimra, songs of praise. However, the deeper meaning is, Zimra, I mean, I don't know, 5 minutes, I guess? Zimra means pruning also. Zmor means to prune. It is called songs of praise, or is this called songs of prunes? What is this? So it means like this, when you prune a tree, what's pruning a tree? What's the purpose of that? The purpose said it'll grow better. The things that stop the growth of the tree will be removed. Remember, we're moving towards the solemn prayer, towards the Shemona Esrei. That's the pinnacle. That's the highest level, the 4th level. So first you made the blessings in the world of action. Now you gotta prune, you gotta cut away all your negative thoughts. Okay? And now the best way to do that is with the songs of David, the Tehillim. And this is mostly Tehillim right now. These are the songs of David. Okay? So now this is long. So technically, you can just fulfill it with one psalm. One psalm. You do all of them, but the one psalm you could do is page 66, the Ashrei.
So you don't say Baruch
No, you
Shamar.
do, but I'm skipping out of order a second.
Oh, you're running out of order. I know, but my notes are getting.
I know, but I'm in logic order, you'll see in a second. 66 is the one psalm that you need to say, and that covers it all. It's in the alphabetical order. It mentions God gives us our sustenance. That's the one thing. Now, so really, to do Psuke Zimra, all you got to do is that one, and the introduction and the conclusion. What's the introduction to the blessing? That's 58. The Baruch Shamar is the introduction. The conclusion is the Yishtabach, which is on page 82. That's the intro and the conclusion. And the one psalm you need to say minimum in the middle is the Ashrei. Okay? If you have a little more time, then I'm going to give you 2 more psalms that would be ideal. Page 72, Psalm 148.
Oh, hold on. We're going fast. Okay, hold on.
So wait, so we just say the intro,
Ashrei, the Baruch Shamar.
Page 58's intro.
Page 58, that one blessing, Baruch Shamar.
And the conclusion.
And then 66 is the Ashrei, and the conclusion is 82.
Okay,
not all the stuff in between.
Yishtabach?
I'm giving you minimum amounts now.
You said Yishtabach is the.
Yishtabach,
Just
which
that,
is 82. Just that paragraph.
Just that.
ran out of room.
I got Psalm 148, but was there another?
Yeah,
Okay,
we gotta
can you
say.
say all 3 again?
Yeah. So again, the condensed version of the Psuke Zimra is 58 Baruch Shamar, 66 the Ashrei, and the concluding 82 Yishtabach.
Got it.
Okay. Now you have a little more time. You want to add 2 other psalms that are crucial, which is on page 72, Psalm 148.
Oh, really? 148?
Yeah, 140, Psalm 148 and 72. And page 74, Psalm 150. Okay? Those are 2 more. If you have time,
That's
say
one
them
that
all.
camps do.
What?
That's the one that my camp does.
Really?
Is 150.
Oh, okay, good, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a little more time, add those 2. Okay? If you have more time, you do the whole thing. Now, we're going to jump because the time is late. We're jumping to the 3rd part of the prayer. The 3rd part of the prayer is now the Shema, which we discussed already. But there's 2 blessings before the Shema and 1 blessing after the Shema. Now for women, it's a little less essential. And if they don't have time, they could just say the Shema. For men, they should try to say the whole thing from 84, the 2 blessings before the Shema, which is on page 90, and then the men have to say the blessing after the Shema, which starts on 94 and goes to 96 and leads into the Shemona Esrei. Okay? those are, it's called the Shema. The Shema is the third piece. And the first piece is the blessings. Second piece is the Psukei Zimra, the Psalms. The third piece is the Shema. But the Shema is the central part. There's two blessings before the Shema and one long blessing after the Shema. Men need to say all the two blessings before the Shema and the blessing after into the Shemona Esrei. If women don't have time for that, they can say the Shema and then the Shemona Esrei.
You're saying just the bara like that, because if you're not a minion, you just say the two, like what's
The part in
the
80,
bottom
the part
of
in
84?
in 84, that first part, in 84, 85, it says, Blessed Hashem, Baruch Hashem, that you don't say without a minion. But the rest you do.
Yeah, the bottom.
Yeah. From Baruch Hashem, Yitzhak Or Baruch Hashem, see it there?
What do you consider the first two blessings before?
So this 84 is the beginning of the first blessing.
Okay.
And it ends, the first blessing ends on 88. It's a very long blessing.
But if you're by yourself.
That's all considered one blessing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
No, well, basically, then you start from the word Baruch, blessed you Hashem, our King, who forms light and creates darkness.
Yeah, that's the one you said you're not with people.
Yeah. Now, so men ideally should be saying again, depending on what everyone's, where they're up to in their spiritual growth, but ideally men should be saying the blessings before, the two before the Shema, the one after the Shema, into the Shemona Esrei. Women, if they can, it's good to do that. If they can't, then say the Shema and the Shemona Esrei. Okay? All right, so I think we're going to stop now because we're past the time, but that is the culmination of we'll talk about man next time, we'll say what we say afterwards. But again, let's summarize what we have. We said so far that prayer is very important all day, but we have a lesson requirement. The requirement is to pray for men ideally 3 times a day. Women, there's 2 different customs. One custom that goes once a day and the custom that goes twice a day. Ashkenazi women try to pray twice a day if they can. When they have kids or this and that, then they're exempt altogether. They said about Chofetz Chaim's, they said that his son said at all times she was raising children, she didn't die. So it becomes difficult, this and that. And I know when Elisheva was like in the recovery home after birth, and I was watching the kids, man, I don't know how it died. Kids like this and praying, torture. Anyway, so women should pray at least 1 time a day, and ideally 2 times a day, according to the field. The 3rd time a day, the Mara of women do not pray. It's not the custom women pray. Men ideally would be 3 times. The 4 parts of prayer we discussed. The first part was the blessing introduction. I showed you the minimum to say, which is the blessings of the Torah, the blessings of the morning, and then the middle part, the Psukei Zimra. If you can say the whole thing, that's great. Cuts away all your negative thoughts. But if you can't, you're in a rush. Then the Baruch Shema Ashrei Yishtabach, those 3. And then the next part, if you can, say the Shema And for men, you should definitely say the blessings before and after. Women, it's ideal too if you can, and that leads you into the Shemona Esrei. And then you are connected.